Hello, this is Phil Parker, and I'd like to introduce you to the use of Excel for machine learning and artificial intelligence. These spreadsheets are for educational purposes only. Why use Excel? Well, we've discovered that there's two types of people. The first type of people, let's call them ML AI people. And the second type of people, they're called normal people. Now your ML people, they typically use Python, R, and Jupyter notebooks, and rarely use Excel for machine learning. The other type of people, the normal people, actually, they almost never use Python or R or Jupyter notebooks, but rather mostly use Excel. So what we decided to do is create a system whereby Excel is a graphical user interface to Python and R. You execute code from Excel into Python and R, and it simply returns the result back to Excel. Literally, you can do high-end machine learning without any programming knowledge in R or Python. Now, how to use these spreadsheets. It's very important that you actually go one tab at a time, and I want you to take that seriously. First, you'll start with the introduction. That will then lead to the data, which will then lead to an analysis tab, which will finally give you results. The introductory tab is mandatory. You need to click on all the links in that tab. These links are to YouTube, websites, other kinds of resources that you need to read before you continue. If you don't read those materials, you will not understand what this machine learning tool is all about. The second tab is a data tab where you copy and paste the data from another Excel spreadsheet into this spreadsheet. You have to make sure your data is perfectly clean. No blank spaces, no illegal characters, no HTML, simply clean data that's copied into the spreadsheet. There are some functions that we'll talk about later. Then you're going to run code either in Python or in R. At that point, you might want to get some coffee depending on the speed of your laptop, but the laptops do work. Then, when the code is finished, it will return to you the graphic results from that algorithm. Okay, so let's start with the first tab. That's the introduction tab. Again, this tab is mandatory. You should spend about 1 hour. Make sure you understand this algorithm, otherwise the output that you're going to be observing a little bit later will be totally nonsensical. There are articles to Wikipedia, some videos on YouTube, and a number of readings about how this algorithm has been applied. Okay, after you've spent about 1 hour understanding this methodology, the data tab will make sense. Each spreadsheet has its own set of instructions because the instructions vary by method. Your job is to simply read all the text at the top of the page. You will notice that some of the spreadsheets have common features. For example, you can add variables, you can define variables, you can actually put an X in a column to ignore a variable, you can also actually add an X or any other text to ignore a row. My advice is this: use a backup copy of this spreadsheet. Many people will run into a problem where they want to recover something they've already done, and if they overwrite the original spreadsheet, it's often difficult to recover. So, copy the original spreadsheet and use a backup copy for your experimentation. By experimentation, I mean play with the spreadsheet quite a bit before you use it for real demonstration purposes. Again, these spreadsheets are only designed for educational purposes only. For example, to demonstrate within your team how an algorithm produces results. The analysis tab of the spreadsheet varies substantially from one algorithm to the next, but there are a few common features. The first one is always read all of the text at the top. You'll often hear the word hyperparameters in machine learning. I like to think of those as settings on a model. At the top of the spreadsheet, often there'll be some suggestions on hyperparameter settings. Also, if it looks confusing to you at this stage, go back to the introduction tab, rewatch videos, and maybe read a few more readings. Why? Because everything on this tab will only make sense if you've done those readings first. At one point, you may want to actually experiment with changes in the code itself. But warning, if you put an error in that code, it will simply crash the system. Again, always use backup copies to do your experimentation. That being said, there is a reset button. When you actually run the code, if you're lucky, you will see this black screen of success. At that point, it tells you that everything is going well. The code is running on your laptop. Go get a coffee, especially for algorithms that require a lot of CPU power. And then, from out of nowhere, a graphical representation or statistical output will appear on the next tab, the Results tab. Again, read all of the text on that tab. It'll give you information about how to interpret some of those statistics. If you're still confused by that output, go back to the Introduction tab and watch more videos and read more readings. Feel free to click on any of the colors of the strategic planning process. The spreadsheets are organized in a way that follows our learning journey. All right. That's about it. Here's a few warnings that you may not have heard previously. Please read all of the text on all of the pages. Please watch all the videos. Please read all of the readings. Definitely clean all of your data before you copy and paste it into the spreadsheet. If you're not familiar with any of the terminology, go back and watch some more videos and maybe read a few more readings. Finally, only use these spreadsheets for educational purposes. Use them within your team to illustrate an algorithm. If you want to do a real commercial application, you'll want to program those in Python or in R or some other machine learning language.